Good morning everybody and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Volmer, and today is a mega general knowledge update. So this video again promises to take some time, so sit back, relax with your favourite beverage and enjoy the video. Now it is daytime, but every time I sit at this end of the layout, which is the fiddle yard end, which you may not have seen before. I'm not too sure what I've shown you, to be honest, on this side, because it's been such a long time since I did a layout update, which is what's going to be incorporated into this. And in some ways, it's almost going to be like a layout tour, because I think there's almost nothing that hasn't been untouched since you last saw it. It's really the station that's pretty much remained the same. So there's a lot to talk to you about. It is actually daytime. It's actually quite sunny outside, but every time I sit here and I have the blinds up, the light plays havoc on the camera, so that's why the shades are down and the lights are on. But I am at home. So the first thing I wanted to mention was this weekend was the Midhants Diesel Gala weekend. And so I wanted to thank my good friend Gary over at Cheeky Tech. We had a fabulous day together, and that video will be going up shortly. And it was an absolutely brilliant day out. We both enjoyed ourselves. We both came away with some additional bits, which I'm going to show you. And there was one bit that I saw with him that I sort of left alone, and I went back for the day after. So sorry, Gary, I had to go back. And you'll see that very, very shortly. So there's so much to talk to you about. So let's just get on with it. And I've got a number of shout outs and a number of thank yous to do, because the first thing to do is I'm just going to say a few bits that I've got. I've got a box here. And just to sort of go through what's happened, because a lot has changed and it's going to be a bit muddled, I guess, this general knowledge update. But literally, when I say general knowledge, I literally mean it's a bit of everything today. So the other motor turned up for the Eurostar. So this wasn't the one I got off of Paul, this is the one that I actually ordered online. So that's turned up for the Eurostar. I also ended up getting a new set off of Amazon of magnetic screwdriver set. This is because I couldn't find my other screwdriver set, and actually it wasn't magnetic, and the magnetic one that I had was slightly too big to fit into the recesses from one of my locos that I'm going to talk to you about today. So I needed this to get that to work. Now, I also got, before we talk to, let me see what else we're going to talk to you about. I'm trying to sort of keep this in some sort of order, so bear with me a minute. Also this week is a shout out to Quick Fit in Alton, because I was talking to Paul about some of my Hornby locomotives, particularly my Class 47, my GBRF ones. They seem to be a bit light on weight. And I know people have said you can get wheel balance weights, which I've used in the past from eBay. But as it so happens, I've got a Quick Fit literally just down the road here. It's only about 2 minutes down the road. And so when I went to see Paul the other day, I popped into there to ask them whether they had any balance weights for tyres that I could possibly buy off of them. And they said, what tyre have you got? And I said, no, it's not for a tyre. It's, believe it or not, it's from other railways. And I said, oh, okay. I said, so how much do you need? And I was like, well, I don't know, 2 or 3 strips, because I think they come in strips. He said, yeah, they come in strips. So I said, well, I was wondering if I could possibly purchase some from you. And they literally just gave me 2 strips for nothing. So massive thank you and a shout out to my local Quick Fit here in Alton. It's very kind of them for them to give that to me for nothing. So that's a nice little freebie from them. I'd also popped into Well, I went to see Paul, and I always see Paul. I've seen Paul so regularly, and I've managed to get some heat shrink off of him. This is to do some work to do with the changes over at the container terminal, but we'll get onto that. So I've got some heat shrink. I also wanted to say, and whilst I was there, I got a converter from 8-pin to 21-pin to 8-pin converter. And that was also to do with something else that I'm about to talk to you about right now. And this is to do with Alan over at Dragon Junction. Now, Alan kindly sent me some stuff because he was having issues. He was having issues with his HST, and he was going to get rid of it, and he just thought, I'm just going to chuck it. And in the course of me talking to him, I said, look, don't chuck it. I don't know what you've got, but whatever it is, I can do some spares because I've got a super detailed HSTs here. So any spares would be gratefully received. And he said, yeah, I can do that for you. So he sent me some stuff. So I've got a PCB board that he sent me. Now, I don't know how good this PCB board, because it hasn't really been tested, or at least I haven't tested it. He was also, so his HSTs that he sent one with, which was relatively complete, and the other one was just literally the body. Now, both the bodies need some work, because that was part of the issue. So he said to me, well, maybe you can do something with them. So I've cleaned them up as best I can, but they need a blow over. So these were his sort of virgin sort of HSTs. This is just one of the bodies. He sent me a body and one with a chassis. So this one I've just sort of blanked out the Virgin logos on both sides, and that's all pretty much all I've done to it. But I have got plans for these, so I haven't really. Like I said, I've got quite a few things going on at the moment, so it's just a case of when I get around to doing it. So he sent me that, and he kindly sent me literally a complete unit, a rolling chassis with the body. This body's in slightly worse shape, but like I said, I will do something with it because it can still be used. So I will be doing something with it. But thank you so much to Alan for kindly doing that for me. And he also kindly sent me some Hunt's couplings to try with my failed HST set. So I'm really grateful to Alan for that. So thank you so much to Alan for doing that for me. That's really kind of him. So that covers those bits and pieces. I also wanted to mention a channel called Goodford Model Railway. If you've not heard of it, it's worth checking out, because if you like my layout, then the chances are you'll like Goodford Model Railway. It's still a work in progress, but it's a fantastic. The work he's done is really fantastic. It's great scenery work, and it's got a fallow car system on it as well, and it's really coming along nicely. The quality of the work is really, really high, and a lot of it's been done already, but there's still a fair amount to do, just like most of our railways. One of the other things that turned up today was, switching to my Eurostar, is the additional pantographs turned up for the two broken ones, so they've been replaced. These are just push fits. They came in from Peter Spares. So now this one is completely sorted now. And as you've seen by the intro, I've also received the other two coaches for the Euro. Excuse me. Why is it whenever I do a video I'm always like that? My apologies. So the Eurostar's got the additional two coaches which arrived, as you've seen on the intro. So that's pretty cool. And I've also got a new loco to show you. And some thank yous as well. Yes, another thank you I need to do. This is all a bit off the cuff. It's not really planned or anything. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you was this. This arrived in the post yesterday, and this was kindly sent to me from John, who you may remember. He bought me, I can't remember his surname for the life of me, but you know who you are, John, and I do appreciate it, and thank you so much. It was a kind gesture of you to think of me, and you may remember him from my wagons, and also my Class 66 117, which he bought for me, my DB Schenker one, and also I believe he sent me a shell for the Class 70, although that cannot be 100% confirmed. But that is also something else to talk to you about, that shell. So I guess what we can do is move on to the to that Class 70. Now, my Class 70 Colas body shell, I've been after a chassis for it, and this week or last week I managed to get hold of a brand new, it's a second-hand Class 70, but it's in virtually pristine nick, and it came complete at a reasonable price with a body. This was the body it came with, which is 70003, which is a beautiful body, fantastic body. But I was actually after a chassis to put the Colas body on. And so what I've done is I've swapped out the body, and I've put in the Colas body onto that chassis, and I've also weathered it. So I'm going to bring that round, and you can have a close look at it. So here is my Class 70, and I've weathered this up, and so this is how it looks like, and this is what I was aiming for. It's an image I found online, and so I was going for this kind of grubby kind of look on the sides, and so this is how it's come out. I'm really pleased with it. And this is the rake of wagons that John also gave me, and so yeah, I'm really pleased with the way this 70's turned out as it goes. It looks lovely, nicely weathered. So it's not pristine. I always like the fact that it got quite grubby, these 70s, these Colas 70s. So I think it looks really, really lovely. So the next thing to talk to you about is this HST. Now I forgot to mention in my box that Alan had given me that he'd also had 2 chips with the MTU TTS sound. And so this HST is the lucky recipient of one of those chips. The other chip he sent me didn't have a speaker, but I've since soldered a speaker to it, and that's gone into another HST. But I will actually replace the speakers because the speaker on this one needs to be changed. But at the moment I just haven't got round to changing it, but it does work. as you can hear. So now, and it runs lovely on this chip actually. So this is another sort of beneficiary to the chip that Alan has given me. So let's send it on its merry way again. As you can hear, the speaker's a bit tinny, so I'm going to get that swapped out. So, what's next? Well, I've got some new stuff to show you, brand new stuff. Never before seen stuff on my layout. So this bit, a number of new vehicles have turned up, and so I thought I'd show you them. So the first vehicle I've got to show you is it's kind of little ice cream van. And it's called Piccadilly Whip. So as soon as I saw this, I thought of John Warner. So I thought it'd be like a Rossi or a Valentino's, as most of these ice cream vans are, but no, it's a Piccadilly Whip. So that's what it's called. Beautiful colours, and I'll show you on the layout where that will go. It's a beautiful little vehicle, lovely. And then my next vehicle to show you is, I saw this with, I think I saw this the day before I actually got it. And then I went out on the diesel gala with Gary on Friday. And I said, oh, I want to pop in to see Paul to pick up this vehicle, because it's so cute. And there's actually one in Basingstoke where I work. In the shopping centre. It isn't actually motorised. I think it's just towed in and wheeled or whatever. And it's just one of those cute vehicles. And I saw it and I thought, oh, I really want it for my layout. And again, it's another little ice cream van. And you're probably wondering what I'm going to do with all these ice cream vans. But I'll explain it to you once I get to the layout update. And here it is. It's so tiny. It's like it's a little Citroen sort of. It's called Jamie's, which again isn't very Italian. It's supposed to be Jamie's ice cream van. Like I said, I assume that, I always tend to think of ice cream vans as Italian and all the rest of it, but when you think of Jamie, you just think of some sort of, I don't know, doesn't sound very, it doesn't have that kind of ring to it, but it's really, really cute. Nice little vehicle. And that's going to go on the layout too. My final vehicle, something a bit bigger. I don't know why, but I seem to have a thing for lorries, and this is one that I've been sort of looking for a little while. So it's not a full-on Arctic lorry, but it's a beautiful Scania, and here it is. I've always wanted one of these, so I picked one of these up. Paul managed to have one. Apparently it's his last one that he had in stock. All I know is that I really liked it, I really wanted it, and I was going to find somewhere on the layout to put it. And so now that's going to go somewhere on the layout to go with all the other Arctics and lorries to show you on the layout. So finally, before we go to the actual layout update, I've got a new loco to show you. And it's new in all senses of the word. It's just been recently released by Hornby, and I couldn't resist it. I saw it in the shop, and I saw this with Gary. So Gary, if you're watching, you know exactly what this is, because me and him were both oohing and ahhing over it, and I went, no, I'm not going to get it, and then I went back for it the following day to get it. And basically what it is I've got this railroad Hornby Class 37 network rail. Well, they call it Class 97, but it's really a 37. And this cost me only 67, I think it was £67. which is a great price. Now, I'm a great fan of Hornby Railroad locos, and they're really mainly designed for the entry-level market. Trying to get kids into the hobby, so rather than having their parents shell out nearly £200 for a loco, you can get a cheap budget one like this one for 67 quid, which I think is fantastic by Hornby. And I always feel like I should mention that you have to put things into perspective when it comes to these Hornby Railroad locomotives, because people quite easily forget what they are. And what I mean by that is they'll turn around and say things like, oh, well, it's not going to be as good as the Eurostar one, or it's not going to be as good as the Batman one. But that's the point. It's not really meant to be competing with those. And it's the same with the 66s when they brought out the 66s. There weren't, people complained. I mean, I know a friend of mine said to me, oh, well, it's not as good as the Happens. And I'm like, well, what do you expect? And you kind of got to put these things into perspective. So, I mean, for the price that I've paid for this, you cannot go wrong. And this is kind of like almost like a classic case of you get what you pay for. There isn't a huge amount of detail. There isn't even a cab inside. However, for the money that you're getting, it's very, very good value for money. And I've seen the Batman ones, and they are really, really nice, don't get me wrong. But I think Kernos were like doing them. I think there were specials from Kernos, and they're about 150 quid. I think they still are around that sort of money if you can get hold of them. I know they're quite difficult to get hold of. And I think Kernos are the only ones that you can get them from. But I've always quite liked this particular one. But then I saw people on eBay, because they sold very quickly, because they were sold as TTS in the beginning. And I saw they sold on eBay for a lot of money. Or people trying to sell it for a lot of money, like as they do, they try and rip you off. And even the other day, I saw one with sound going for £125. When you think about this, has cost me 67. If I was to buy a TTS chip, it would still cost me less than £125, which I suspect was the sound chip that was in there. And this is brand new and recently released. So let's take it out of the box and have a look at it. Like I said, I've actually had it out. It's actually got a chip in it already, and I've actually been running it. And like I said, you've got to bear in mind how much you're paying and what to expect. So, don't sort of have your expectations really high, thinking that this is going to be like some really high fidelity kind of loco. That being said, it's a fantastic locomotive for the price. And on top of that, for the price, you even get the etched nameplates, which is absolutely fantastic. So, well done, Hornby. I think it's great. Like I said, I bought the GBR F20s. I'm perfectly happy with those. Those are railroad ones. All my Hornby Railroad 66s I had. My cheapo ones, there's nothing wrong with them. The only thing I would say with these things is that they are pretty light, which is another reason why I've got the car weights, was to add the weight. As you can probably see inside, you can see there's no cab detail, there's no cab in it. Am I that bothered? No, me personally, no, but some people might be. The thing is with these, is the way I look at it with these, it's like my 59. And if I show you my 59 again, which is just here, so I'm just going to sort of take it out. And I'm going to show you my 59 once again. Now, this is relatively cheap Hornby model, but as you can see, with a bit of detailing and a bit of weathering and all the rest of it, it doesn't look half bad, and it looks pretty decent, and it looks like a much more usable. It doesn't look so much like a toy, it looks more like a model that can be used and run. And it doesn't take too much to do that. And as I've shown with my 66s also, just some weathering and all the rest of it. And the model is it's still a good model. You can turn it. And this is the thing with this. The thing is with these kind of models is, yeah, they are they're cheap enough that if you want to experiment with weathering, this it's a fantastic way of learning to weather on these, rather than getting an expensive Bachmann one, which I've now done, incidentally, because of my experiments that I've originally done with these cheap Hornby ones. I've now had the confidence to say, yeah, I know what I'm doing now. I'm prepared to have a go at some of my more expensive models. And so my 70 is pretty much one of my first ones, although I've had a go at my 60, but I might redo the 60 that I did by Hornby. But these are great locomotives to literally experiment with. And it's actually a fine locomotive. Like I said, it's not the best of pullers. It's not all-wheel drive. It's a very basic model. It's essentially a Lima 37. And the body is literally just a clip-on. You just clip it on and off. And it's like anyone who's got the railroad for 47, it's very much the same interior in that sense, that you've got the central mounted speaker hole, you've got a trailing bogie, and then you've got just literally a basic socket. And that's all it is. But like I said, it's still a good model, and there's still enough detail there. And I just think, yeah, it's great. And like I said, with a bit of weathering and a bit of detailing, this will come out really lovely. So that's what I'm planning on doing with it. I haven't actually touched this as yet. I'm still doing some research on some of the photographs and stuff. The only thing I would say about this is I was thinking of putting snow plows on the front of this, and I did actually try putting some on, and they will fit. The problem is that the hole comes too far out. The socket, the NEM pocket, is too far out. If it was recessed a bit more, then the snow plows would go right underneath. But as it stands, when I've tried putting the snow plows on, it comes too far out and it sticks out too much, so it doesn't look right. But like I said, it has been running on the layout, and it does run really, really well. And to be fair, a lot of my cheap Hornby ones, the 66s and that 59, do run really, really well. So, you know, I haven't got no real moans about them. I mean, they haven't got the pulling power of the all-wheel drive locomotives, but nonetheless, for the price, I don't think you can argue about it. I think it's a wonderful locomotive. You know, you could sort of argue that maybe the yellow looks a bit plastic. If you were to put lights in it, which I could possibly do, which I may do, you would have to most certainly go through the inside of the locomotive and paint it out so you don't get the light bleed coming through the nose and all the rest of it. So that's something you probably would have to do. But like I said, this is a fabulous locomotive for the price. You can't really argue with it. So I'm really, really pleased with this. So well done, Hornby. So we now move on to the layout update side of things, which is quite comprehensive because a lot has changed. And we'll get down and closer in just a jiffy. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of why and what I've done, because it all started off with this corner here. I've had nothing but issues on this corner here with derailments, and that's because the board is slightly out. Now, I did explain to Gary when he came over, and it kind of took him a little bit by surprise, and it might take you a little bit by surprise, but this is actually an extension, this end here. So there's a line which is just where that point is, crossing over. There's a line there, and that is all the way across. So there's an actual extra foot, I think it's a foot or 18 inches extension, and that's actually a bolt-on extension. So when I originally built the layout, it was actually originally about 8 foot, and then I decided that I wanted to extend it. However, it's either dropped or it wasn't quite level, and that's why this side's always caused me some issues in aggro. So I've had to relay the track yet again, but then what's happened is, because I wasn't happy and I had to lift the track up to sort this issue out around this bend, it consequently led on to some other changes at the other end of the layout. So it meant that I've actually relayed the track all the way along. I'm just going to have a quick brief look, and then we'll talk about it and get down a bit closer. So this is kind of like an overview of it at the moment, so you can sort of see what it's like. And as you can see, one of the main impacts that it's had is that the container terminal is now just one line, and it's essentially a passing loop. There's no two lines like there were before, and that was because I was never really happy. But like I said, we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to drop you down and take you back down to the other end, and then we'll work our way back, and then I'll explain to you in further detail why I've done what I've done. So this little bit is going to be done freehand, so you can sort of see exactly. So one of the main issues is that I was having points that were back to back on one another. And so by adding this piece here, it's eliminated that issue that I had with points being back to back. So that's made the running a lot easier. I've also added this point in here, if I can find my finger, because that is going out towards the other outside end of the layout. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I've got an idea of what I'd like to do. Whether it works or not, I don't know. But for now, it's just an exit point and it's there. And if I choose to use it, I can use it. And it does actually work. So what happened is that in order to get the actual space here, I took out the extra siding that was here. There was 2 lines into the container terminal. And the thing is, I was never really using the second line. Now, the second line was actually the inner line. So what I've done is I've removed the inner line, and I've now extended the container terminal by about 2 or 3 inches. This is where it sort of finished before, where my finger was here, where the other line was. So I've now extended the container terminal out. And also, by bringing this container terminal, let's see if it is out all the way. By making it a single line passing loop, it's actually made it a lot easier to run operationally, and it just sort of flows so much nicer. And at the other end, again, I've eliminated the point here that was here, which again has made my life a lot easier. But I've inserted this point here, so it now becomes a passing loop. So there's no need to do any reversing from any kind of direction. It can just go straight in loco first, which is absolutely brilliant. It has been test run, and it has been running a lot with my 66 that's currently parked up here. So one of the reasons why I took the second line out is because I was never really using it. And so I just thought, okay, this isn't really working. I'm not using it. That will free up some space to make this junction a lot better and make the trains run a lot better along this corner. And also it now means that I won't have to reverse the trains in, and it just works so much better. I like to have my layouts to make some sort of sense. And so I took the opportunity where the fueling point was over here. The entrance to the container terminal used to run all the way along the bottom here. It didn't really make any sense. And the reason why it doesn't make any sense is because basically the fueling point came up to here. So all the point from this point back was all wasted. So that means that the reach stacker couldn't offload the wagons that were past this point going backwards, because they couldn't reach it, which means that the loco would have to pull forward onto the main line in order to get to the wagons at the back. So what I did is basically, as you can see, I've completely freed up the container terminal. And so that reach stacker that's down the back can reach all the train all the way down, and there's no obstructions of buildings or anything like that. It can come all the way down, which makes a lot more sense. So that's why I've done that. So I quite like the entrance that I had going on here, but it's just meant a lot more work because, again, I've had to fill in all this front part to cover up the track that was here before. So that's caused a lot of dust and a lot of work, and I've had to fill in all the holes from where all the lamp posts which are there that used to be, that were moved. So I had to fill in all those holes, repaint it, resand it, and so it's taken a lot of work. But you can now see the kind of outline of the new container terminal entrance. So as you can see, I've got some parking spaces here for the staff. One of the ice cream vans, the Piccadilly Whip Mercedes van, is over here. So that means that the staff that work in that building, they can have their canteen or whatever, and if they want to pop out and have a ice cream, they've got the ice cream van sitting there. And then after, we've got the couple of bins which I just bought recently, just so they've got somewhere to throw their rubbish. I've played with the lorries to make sure that they can get round okay, which they can. I've started adding some of the road markings. I've positioned the lampposts, although they're not working. I've also been playing with the reach stacker. So this is the end. So basically, just I've played with it. It's just reversing it out to make sure that it can reverse out and have plenty of room to get round without hitting any of the cars or any of the infrastructure at the back there. So I was playing with that. I've moved the fueling point towards the top end, which makes more sense. We've got some loading, offloading area like we did before. So the reach stackers can offload here. It's still a one-way system, but I haven't done the road markings down here because I haven't completely sorted out everything that I'm going to do here yet. So that's still to be mapped out. But it does flow a lot better. Then as you move down to this end, I've actually added this kind of little brake area, which was mainly down the other end. But the thing is, I've got the lorry park here, which I'd already created previously, and I quite like the angle, so I thought I'd keep that bit and then I'll just extend it out. So I've added those. So basically still got the same 3 parking spaces that I had over at the other end, but it's been moved down to this end. And that means that the truckers, if they need to, when they have their break, in between the tacos or waiting for their containers or whatever, they can have a break. And they can sort of have a little go to the hot dog stand, grab some lunch or whatever. That white van is the van that tows in the hot dog stand. There's my other little ice cream van. There's a little bin, some of my Metcalf benches, a portaloo. So if they need to use a loo, they've got somewhere they can use a loo, and a couple more bins. And then these little blocks that you can see here, these are all to represent concrete blocks, which is what they have in some container terminals. And this is basically to make sure that if the truckers, it's basically to protect the truckers or people sitting on the benches and the workers working along the back here. So basically, if the truckers hit one of these concrete blocks, they're not going to move, but the truck's going to get damaged. So that's the whole point of that. And that's why those blocks are all there, and that's why you see them on some of the container terminals. I tend to populate in the same manner as before to get some more containers for this middle bit. And I've also did some road markings, as you can see, on its way out. But I haven't, like I said, I haven't finished them all. There's some down the back there. But like I said, I haven't really finished along the back there and in the middle area. I'm still to map that out. One other thing, but I do like what I've done here with the road markings with the yellow. And I also like the white band that I've put all the way along, which really finishes it off really, really nicely, and it works really, really well. So I'm really pleased with the way that this is turning out. Like I said, it's nowhere near finished, as you can see. So I've got all these little projects going on, but we're getting there. And there's the new lorry that I've got that's just sitting up there. So yeah, this sort of looks a lot more open. It makes a lot more sense. I mean, I know it's only a little roundy layout, but I still like things to make sense. So it does make a lot more sense now that it doesn't matter in the train, 66 in this case, doesn't come onto the main line. The reach stacker can get to any wagon it wants all the way along the end of the train with no problems at all. The train's not overhanging the main line in any way, shape or form. So, and also it gives the opportunity for the 66 to then, if it wants to, run round the train, go to the other end and take it out from the other end if it wants. So that's kind of where I'm going with that, and I think it just works so much better. It's so much easier to use, and also because it's a single line passing loop, it just runs so much better. So I'm really pleased with that. This is a Dapol footbridge, which I know many of you have seen before, but I haven't really spoken about it. It's just been seen on running sessions. So this has been sprayed up and weathered in sort of a mixture of colours to give it a sort of weathered, worn look. I also haven't really spoken about this concrete fencing, but this is basically card scored with a pen, and just to give the outlines. So that's what I've done there, because it's a lot cheaper than buying the ratio stuff. And I'm not really too sure how much I've shown you of the fiddle yard, so I'll have a quick sort of show you of the fiddle yard, and that's pretty much all completed all the way down. So that's pretty much where it is. Now if I just quickly just sort of take you down towards this end of the layout again, sorry about this going a bit. What I'd like to do is basically use this point to go off the layout and hopefully try and make use of the space underneath the layout for a fiddle yard, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. But that's why that's there. That's just for me to sort of play about with possibly having a few more ideas. So this concludes the end of the video. Excuse me. My apologies as if it's a bit on the long side. Hopefully you found it interesting. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody out or forgotten anything to mention to anybody. Like I said, I'd like to thank Gary for taking the time to spend the day with me on Friday, and I've really thoroughly enjoyed myself with Gary over at the Diesel Gala. It was a fantastic day out. I do have some footage and that will be going out shortly too. I'd also like to thank Alan for his box of bits and pieces, which has really helped me, and also the chips that he sent with it. So that's thumbs up to Alan for that. Don't forget to check out Goodford Model Railway if you are interested, in modern image. Oh God, what is it with me? If you're interested in the GWR stuff, then by all means check out his layout. It's a fantastic layout, it really is. Like I said, Warwick Road was also another one that I had mentioned previously. So that's also a work in progress, but like I said, these are all good layouts. There's plenty of good layouts out there on YouTube. So until the next time, it's bye from Milton Horn Farmer. Bye bye.